You are welcome to English class today, and the topic for discussion is phrasal verbs. Introduction. You were introduced to verbs that take on particles, that is, an adverb or preposition, to form phrasal verbs. So the knowledge of collocation in the comprehension of every unit will help you in understanding phrasal verbs. Remember, you have learned about collocation, and I say collocation has to do with combination of two or more words to form sentences or idiomatic expression. For instance, we have words like go out, come out, sit down, and the rest of them. So we can equally use them in this lesson. Phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb is a verb that is made up of a main verb together with an adverb or a preposition or both. So for instance, words like turn down, run into, stand by, and the rest of them are examples of phrasal verbs. So in short, we can say phrasal verbs comprise verbs and particles. So the meanings of this combination may be obvious or obscure. And when we say that something is obvious, that means the meaning is clear. And when something is obscure, that means the meaning is not easily understood. So each combination may consist of a verb and one or two particles conveying either obvious or obscure meaning. So when the meaning is obscure, it becomes an idiomatic expression. And on the other hand, if the meaning is obvious, it becomes non-idiomatic. So as we give more examples, you will understand better. Examples. So the formula for identifying phrasal verb is given here. We have the one that comprises verb plus particle, that is verb plus either adverb or preposition. For instance, I ran into an old friend. So ran into is a phrasal verb and the meaning is obscure. It's not easily understood. That is why we say it is idiomatic. And the meaning here is you met an old friend. So she takes after her mother. This too is obscure because could be that she resembles her mother or she behaves like her mother. So the meaning here is obscure and it makes this sentence to be idiomatic. They waited for him to calm down. So calm down here is obvious as it means. So my town has done away with certain obsolete customs. This meaning too is obvious. That means the town has abolished some certain obsolete customs. The convict broke down when the judge made his pronouncements. That means lost control of his feelings. So this meaning is obscure. Example 2. The formula has been given. We have verb, that is main verb, plus particle plus another particle. So in a sentence, it is possible to have phrasal verb comprising three words. That is the main verb plus a particle plus another particle. And so I'm going to give you the example in two ways. Example A comprises those ones with obvious meaning, and example 2 comprises the expression of phrasal verbs with obscure meaning. So for instance, he has vowed to keep out of trouble. Many candidates went in for the examination. She is looking forward to a rest. So all the underlined expressions are phrasal verb. And when you look at them very well, we have the main verb plus particle plus another particle all through. Example 2, which is represented by B. That means the phrasal verbs comprising obscure meaning or idiomatic expressions. For instance, I will not be surprised if he goes back on his promise. Goes back on means breaks. So the meaning of the phrasal verb here is obscure and it makes the expression idiomatic. She puts up with a lot of embarrassment from her friends. So put up with means tolerate. So the meaning too is obscure. He is always hurt because he does not lay out his money wisely. This one, lay out, here is also obscure, although this one is not comprising the three weights, but its meaning here is obscure, meaning spend. He doesn't spend his money wisely. Example 3. The same meaning may be expressed by more than one phrasal verb. For instance, after completing his prison term, he kept out of trouble. After completing his prison term, he kept away from trouble. After completing his prison term, he stayed away from trouble. So all the underlying weights here are expressed differently, but it refers to the same thing. That's what this example is saying. The same phrasal verb may have different meanings. For instance, during the Christmas party, I fell in with an old friend of mine. So, fell in with is our phrasal verb, which means met by chance. I am ready to fall in with anything you propose. Fell in with here is our phrasal verb, which means agree to anything you propose. So in this expression, you will discover that the same phrasal verb may have different meanings. So the meaning in sentence 1 is different from the meaning in sentence 2. A change in one of the particles may signal a change in the meaning of the phrasal verb. For example, I am always ready to stand up for a good idea. If you stand up to the man, he may not carry out his plan. So if you compare the two sentences, stand up for means support and stand up to means oppose. So when one of the particles is being changed, then it will change the meaning of the phrasal verb. Remember, the first example is for and the second example is to, and that is why it alters the meaning of the phrasal verb. So take note of all this. With the knowledge of collocation, I believe you will not have problem with phrasal verb. Remember, they always come in group, whether it's comprise verb, that is main verb plus a particle, or it may comprise a verb plus a particle plus another particle, and all function as phrasal verb. So in our next lesson, we are going to talk about intonation, but you can open to page 187. That's where this topic is, and read more exercises there so that you can understand. Because in your exercises, you may be asked to replace a phrasal verb with a word, or you can be asked to replace a word with phrasal verbs. So when you understand what phrasal verb means, whatever you are asked to do, you can do it perfectly. So good day.